I'll tell you one thing. If your family's been in this country a long time, there's some secrets in your closet that you don't know about. That's my family's story. I was raised in Parma, Ohio. It was the kind of neighborhood where everyone was white, working class. My dad worked, Mom stayed at home, and I felt very close to my mom. I really did. But she had a certain mystery. She wasn't from the North, she was from New Orleans, and she had very few family photographs. And I used to ask her about that. I said, how come there are no photographs? And she'd say, oh, I just don't have any, which I thought was very strange. And the other thing was that my mother really didn't have people from her family visit, so I didn't know anything about my mother's family. And I'm the kind of person that I want to know the truth. So I decided to find out once and for all who my mother's family was. So I went up to the library and started searching. I went through a lot of microfilm. I'm just flying in the dark, making guesses. And finally I sent away for my mother's birth certificate. I open it up, and I'll never forget it. I look at it, and it says race. And in parentheses are 3 letters, C-O-L. C-O-L for colored. I think I actually sat down for a minute and just held it, looked at it, and thought about it. My mom always described her heritage as her father was French and her mother was Scotch and English, and that's it. So I'm thinking, what is going on here? So I waited till she came to visit me, and we were sitting down after lunch, and I said, Mom, you know, I sent away for your birth certificate, and it says you're colored. So it got very quiet. I could see she was thinking. And then she says, promise me, you can't tell anyone. You can't tell anyone until after I die. I had never seen her so afraid. And so, reluctantly, I agreed to keep her secret. But after my father passed, we were visiting my mother, and she brought out this photo album. And she says, this is my photo album. I kept this separate from your father. And I know your love of photographs and how much they mean to you, so I'm going to give this to you. I want you to take it, and I want you to keep it. And when I started looking through it, it was an eye-opener to me because I realized the depth of my mother's story of passing. She went from living in New Orleans as a woman of color, and then had to make this tremendous shift in her identity to move north and marry my father and live as a white woman. She had to give up family. She had to give up her authentic self, who she really was. And I thought about how sad that must have been for her. My mother died in 2014, so I kept her secret 17 years. That's a long time to keep a secret like that. But after her passing, I discovered that her father went and started a whole other family, and he had 5 other children. And so there was a whole other family, and I didn't know they existed. And then, I'll never forget, I received an email from a woman who said, my father is Azima Frederick Jr. I'm your cousin, and we want to welcome you to this family.
I got a phone call from my cousin saying that I had a cousin that was coming in town. When she told me it was a cousin named Gail, I was like, I don't remember a cousin named Gail. I was excited. I was like, wow, I have a cousin that I did not know about, so it'd be very interesting to meet. And so when we got together, nobody missed a beat. Everybody welcomed her happily with open arms. And I could see the family resemblance. I could, in the face.
Suddenly now, I have a whole other family. And to get to know them and seeing my mother in them and them in my mother, it's incredible. This journey started with an absence of photographs. But now, this is my own photo album.
I grew up in New York pretty much all my life. I came here from India when I was about 5 years old. So being Sikh in the US, my parents expected me to get married. And I kind of knew through our culture what the traditions were. There's arranged marriages through family members. And, I didn't know if I wanted it that way. But then my sister got married through a similar situation. So I'm like, okay, well, let me just try it and see what happens. So I think it was a few months later, my sister kind of jokingly said, stand over here, I want to get a photo of you to send to girls. And I'm like, okay, fine. I just wanted to get it over with. I had my tie on, turban tied on nicely. I was kind of grinning, but I didn't want to act too nerdy. I was just like, all right, just take a picture and let's get it done with.
When I was 22, 23, my parents started talking about it's time to get married when you finish your education. My family was very religious, and all my family, my relatives, they were all arranged marriages. But my parents are very open, very educated, so they asked me, is it okay? And I said, yes, that's fine with me. That's the trust I had in my family. So it was the beginning of March, and my brother from America called home and he said, there is a potential boy, I'll send you the picture. I'll never forget the day when the photograph arrived. I opened the mail and I took the picture out, and I see a very handsome boy, and I saw his very kind and loving eyes. And he's smiling, and I thought he's smiling at me.
So the first time I saw her photo, I'm like, wow, a beautiful young lady. It wasn't a stage photograph, which I really liked. It just showed her natural demeanor. The charm, the smile, the personality, it shines right there. I wanted to meet her. My friends at work kind of joked at me, like, oh, you're going to India to get married? I said, no, I'm just going to go meet somebody. It was crazy to think that I would actually fly to India and meet my potential wife and spend a lifetime together. But in my mind, I was thinking that this could be the one.
My heart, it was beating very fast. We knew that they were coming around 3:30 in the afternoon. I was the one who opened the door, and first his father comes and his mom, and then he's the last one to enter. That's when we saw each other the first time. And I said, oh, he looks exactly like the picture.
It was surreal. It was just like, wow, times two. I could tell right away that this is a very kind, charming young lady, and it's hard to explain, but I kind of knew that she was the one. We met on the 13th. We married on the 21st. Do I see my photo?
Yeah. Mhm.
Les Grays. I can't believe I picked out that tie. She's actually gotten more beautiful over the years. So I'm always in love with her. So in almost 25 years, we experienced all the ups and downs, but we kind of know each year as we grow older that the love gradually grows stronger. We build the love. When you tell people the story, it's hard to imagine that just seeing a photograph, we can spend a lifetime together. It sounds like a fairy tale, but this actually can happen, and it did happen.
And it worked.
It worked out very well.
照相啊，对我来讲，它不单是一个纸面的事情，一生的这个经历可以保留。我1934年出生在上海，所以我家的出身啊是比较清贫的。我们国家是经历了一个翻天覆地的一个变化。今年是84岁。 假如没有照片的话，这个历史的情况就会一路遗忘这样子。
Photography really has a strong place in Chinese culture. It's something that's a ritual. I remember one day I was in this recycling plant in the north of Beijing, and there were these bags where I could see piles of 35mm negatives. I started looking at them, and they were photographs taken by everyday people in huge quantities. Back at my studio, I started looking at them and seeing very interesting images. So, a great amount of photos of women posing with TVs or next to their fridges. There was always this bench with Ronald McDonald's statue. It was a face of China that I didn't expect.
1988年，我参加一次北京市的先进的科研院所长的会议。我看到上面的会议的地点下了一个大的瀑布，我就找到这个底下的湖泊。这个湖泊里面呢，有一块很大的一块石头，我就躺下来了。开会的朋友一块给拍下来了。 生活的这个愉快啊，把它记录下来。当时拍这个照片的人把这个胶卷就给扔了。
At the very beginning of it, I bumped into a photo that I quite liked. It's this guy who is laying on a stone in the middle of a river with a little smile, and he looks like a mermaid to me. This photo was the perfect example of a new China that's coming out of very hard times. A time when things got a bit simpler, a bit happier. And I think witnessing these small events, these intimate memories, this archive was telling the story of a place and the story of a time. When I gathered over 150,000 photos, I started sharing on social media and then outside of China in exhibitions and so on. And I called this collection Beijing Silver Mine. Through this project, all of these photographs were always people I didn't know. But then one day, someone decided to get in touch.
我没想到我女儿突然会打电话告诉我，我在30年以前拍的这个照片已经在流传到欧美国家的这个展出。我女儿领了她以后呢，认识了，一块吃的饭。哎，你好，苏先生，你好，你好，我们又见面了啊！又见面了，很高兴，很高兴，很高兴。
When I could see his face and how he looked right now, I must say I was pretty moved. It's a photo I've been traveling with and showing in many countries. I mean, when you think about it, what are the odds? 这张就不用跟你说了，你认识吧？认识。
我很感谢苏文先生这个发现这样子。人家从这个照片当中可以感到中国人的生活的富裕。我的那照片啊，会受到国内外的很多人的那个欣赏和尊重。这一点呢，是我这辈子都没想到的这样子。
When me and my sister were taken to foster care, I think I was 6 or 7. We were always moving around, and every time we were to move, it was always a new person or a new family. I think that was the scariest part for me, always having the possibility of leaving and starting over again and again. I knew the whole time that we could potentially be adopted, but I didn't think it was a possibility because of my age. Me and my sister, we were the only family that we had left.
So I've always known that I wanted a large family. My mom jokes that when I was 16, I was already ready for a minivan. We had the first few pretty close together. And I don't know why when I got to child number 5 that I thought now is a good time to adopt. But I just felt it was something I wanted to do. So we put our paperwork in. And about 6 months later, I woke up and checked my email, and there was a letter from a social worker with a picture of these 2 kiddos. And they were sitting at a fair, but their smile seemed really forced. And when you open an email and you see these 2 children and they need a family, how do you say no to that?
I think the moving in day was probably one of the most stressful. I believe we showed up with a bin of clothing, and that's about it. No pictures, no any attachment to my previous life. As the weeks progressed, I was really excited and I got along with everyone, but every time I would see like baby photos around the house, I was a little jealous. Like, oh, I wish I had that. I've always loved to laugh, and a sense of humor has always been a way for me to cope with things. Like, I remember one day we're all talking, joking around with each other, and then I said something about wanting baby photos. And then my sister was jokingly around, said, we should do it now. I was like, it's kind of weird, but wouldn't it be funny though? And it was just like, okay, let's do this. The next day, Kelly, she set up all her photography stuff. And then from there, we just basically did everything that she would have done at a newborn shoot, but with me. I was just making weird poses and faces like I always do. I remember the funniest one was when she just started taking pictures of my feet. I think I was laughing like really, really hard during that one.
So I made birth announcements, and I styled them in the same way that most newborn birth announcements would be, with their name and their, birth date and their weight.
I really just thought, oh, this is just gonna be a funny thing. I'm gonna post it on the internet and just give a couple of people a laugh. I didn't really expect it to be as big as it was.
So I posted them to Facebook, and the next morning I realized something had happened. I was getting comments from everywhere. I think that people saw the humor in it, but the best response to me was from those who said they would consider adopting an older child, because there are so many older children in foster care who need parents. And all children deserve that place to go back home.
I look back on the photos and it just makes me happy. It's something that I've always wanted, and I felt like I needed them to make myself feel like part of the family.